Let's welcome Amitrajit Bose. He is a software engineer at Flipkart and has 1.5 years of experience. He is also a career coach and an interview preparation mentor at Preplaced. Hello, Amitrajit. It's a delight having you here. Tell us a little about yourself and your journey.
Hi, Pratishtha. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Thanks so much to Preplaced for inviting me here to this amazing for talking to some of the really interested students and people who would need this. As you said, I'm currently working at Flipkart and I have been at Flipkart for the last few months here. Before that, I used to work at Rakuten, which is another e-commerce based company. And I recently graduated also after my computer science education. Apart from work, I love enjoying photography, traveling, and writing tech blogs. So yeah, that's a very short intro about me. Sure.
That's great. That's great. So,
Yeah.
since you have worked as a software engineer and you are interview preparation mentor as well, can you tell me what is the interview role of your company? Like, what is the interview process and how many rounds are basically there?
Right. So basically at Flipkart right now, the first stage is like where essentially your resume would get shortlisted. After the resume shortlisting, that screening phase, you generally go through one machine coding round for SD1. You go through a machine coding round, and in that machine coding round, after that machine coding round, we have a PSDS round, which is a problem solving data structures round. And post that round, we have a hiring manager round. So yeah, these are the three main rounds, but also in some of the cases, for example, let's say if it's a campus hiring or some of the cases, there is a initial coding round also. Coding round as in like some hacker or hacker rank based round, which is before all the rounds. But this is optional, like depends on what type of drive it is.
So, what would you say interviewers are really looking for in the resumes of the candidates?
That's very subjective. But what I found is that most of the places people are looking for short and crisp resumes. Where if you are less than 10 years of experience, don't create a resume which is more than one page. It is excessive. It's not necessary. So just keep it short and concise. Add good projects. Add point wise what contributions you have made in your previous companies, previous projects, and add your achievements. So I think if that's good enough, I think you are good enough to get shortlisted. Also, I would like to add that previous company and oftentimes like your good contribution in open source also matters a lot.
Right. So, can you dive a little bit deep into the each interview rounds that are there?
Sure, Pratishtha. In the first round, we have a machine coding round, which is essentially a low-level design round. So what happens in the low-level design round is you're given a problem. Let's say something like you have to design a Book My Show or let's say Zomato or something like that. It is generally not a very huge problem. Like you don't have to design Book My Show or Zomato end to end. A small part of that, essentially, let's say you have to design the movie booking system. You'll be given some functionalities. You have to code that out. Given so it's generally of 1.5 hours, where initially you have a discussion time. You go through the question, and you basically code. You share your screen. There's one interviewer who goes through the code at the end of the interview, and they run the entire code. Uh, that's what basically is. You have to implement the functionalities. You have to keep in mind that the code you write should be readable and highly maintainable. um, Depending upon your experience, years of experience, there might also be a high level design round where you might also maybe the difficulty of the problem will gradually increase based on your experience. um, Post that round, there is a if you don't qualify that round, you would be cut off that loop, which we called as loop cutoff. After that interview, we have a PSDS round, which is essentially problem solving and data structures. So this round is essentially of 1 hour, and mainly generally two DS algo problems are discussed. It can even go up to three based on your performance if you're quick enough to solve them. But generally, it is a 45 minutes to 1 hour round, and so yeah, though they are like simple questions, make sure to go through the question logic clearly and discuss it. So one common problem I have seen people making mistake in this round is that they jump to the solution directly. So make sure to discuss the problem and understand what are the edge cases and solve it properly. Take your entire time. Post that round, the final round is the hiring manager round. So hiring manager round, it's kind of an open-ended round. It can go up to 1.5 hour also, or it can be sorted in 1 hour also. It's essentially an open. Basically, we are talking with the director, or let's say the manager, or some high leadership level positions, and in that round they basically judge your behavioral skills, that how confident you are, or let's say what work you have done in the past. So this round can be very open-ended. Like they can ask you simple questions about your behavior, or what has been your contributions in your previous projects, previous organization. It can also go to technical side, where people can ask you about, where the hiring manager can ask you about your technical. Let's say goes deep into one project in your resume. So make sure to add projects that you are well versed of. Don't add any projects that you have like maybe copied from the internet.
Right.
So make sure that's very important. Actually, I've seen a lot of people do that. So yeah, those are the few tips, and that's how I think in depth I would say, or each round goes.
That's great. So, while candidates are preparing for it, do you think there are any key tips that they should remember, like before preparing for the role?
Yeah, before preparing for the roles, I think key things to remember would be, the first thing is resume that would be shortlisted. So make sure to like as we discussed, like make sure to keep it one page, and make sure to keep it crisp and concise. So apart, once your resume is done, make sure to qualify the rounds, you basically need to have good fundamentals and good knowledge of computer science fundamentals. So essentially data structures, algorithms, Java, DBMS algorithms, stuff like that. These are like basically what we are taught at college. Just go through that, revise that very well. And apart from that, I think one of the major things that helps a lot for interviews, as I personally found, is like doing mock interviews. So if you do mock interviews, it helps in whatever problem you face in the mock interviews, you can rectify that in the real interviews. So I personally found mock interviews very useful for preparing for such roles, such any kind of interviews.
Right.
Yeah, so there are many online websites for mock interviews. I mean, Preplaced is also a great place to do that. So yeah.
Definitely. So,
Yeah.
apart from this, do you think competitive programming is necessary in cracking interviews of such top tech companies?
Uh, so yeah, that's a very debatable question. But I have done competitive programming personally, so I think I can share my point of view. So I
Right.
have been to ICPC, ACM ICPC, which is like a Olympic equivalent to an Olympic of competitive programming world. So that is where essentially competitive programming is like solving problems which are math intensive. uh, but what I found at interviews is like you have to essentially be good at problem solving in terms of not highly math intensive, but you should be good at data structures and in general algorithms. So I would say that you do not have to have as much advanced expertise in deep level algorithms or advanced algorithms mathematics as you would need to compete in ICPC for competitive programming. But you do need to be good strong at data structures and algorithms, and competitive programming is a good way to reach that. It's not the aim, but it's kind of a way to reach that path. It can be fun way of learning data structures and algorithms. So I think it helps, but it's not mandatory to be good at CP.
Okay, okay, got it. So, are there any
Yeah.
specific resources or courses that you would like to recommend to the candidates?
uh, Courses for preparation of such interviews.
Yeah, or anything.
I Okay. I personally found there is one. So there are like lots of ample number of playlists on YouTube where you can go through data structure and algorithms. I personally read the book of Cracking the Coding Interview by Gail Lackman. It's a very everybody knows probably. You can just Google it. It's very famous. Like it's a concise book where you can like go through some of the problems. Apart from that, I think go through the 50. So what, for example, you're giving a interview at Flipkart or giving an interview at Amazon, just go through the past recent 50 problems that were asked in interviews. You can go through that on Geeks for Geeks. So that helps a lot. Other than that, in terms of machine coding, I think if you're good at object-oriented programming, and if you go through the OOP principles, that is enough sufficient for that. Yeah.
Great. So, are there any special tips that people should remember before going into the interview? Since, like, you have seen a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. So, are there any common mistakes, and how should they avoid it?
Is it like during the interviews?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think one of the major things I have found during the interviews, after giving so many interviews, uh, let's say one of the things is you need to be confident about what skills you have. At the end of the day, it's essentially you're selling yourself to the company. So if you are confident that you deserve to be qualified, you deserve to be hired, and you show that in your skills, in your past experience, you would be. And essentially don't take pressure, as in during the interview the other guy is not trying to reject you, he's actually trying to help you to crack that round. So I think thinking out loud while solving problems, such as like if there's a problem, I have found a lot of people like jumping. So let's say there's a given a problem of, let's say, twosome. It's a very popular problem. So uh, let's say somebody has already solved that problem, some they would like directly jump to the solution. I know the most efficient solution to this. So that's like a very negative red signal, red flag for all the hiring managers, and also can reject you. So I would say take your time, go through all these steps from the naive solution to the brute force to slowly greedy and different approaches, and slowly reach to the efficient solution.
Right.
That also helps the interviewer understands your way of thinking. So make sure to convey how you're thinking about solving the problem. That's very essential. Another tip I would say, yeah, I think confidence, talking, thinking out loud, and yeah, just I think these things are fair enough. If you are skilled and if you are prepared well, you should sail through the interview. Yeah.
Right. So, nowadays, people are giving virtual interviews as well. So, what is your intake on the virtual interviews and the mistake that people do there?
Right, absolutely. I think virtual interviews will be here to stay. Even if we go back to office, this will be
Yeah.
a thing. So I think one of the things I found out during virtual interviews, I think I was interviewing at Google, where during my interviews, my power cut happened actually, and I lost my Wi-Fi connection at my home. So make sure to have a backup internet connection. Thankfully, I had my like mobile phone Wi-Fi that it hotspot, so I was able to switch to that. So make sure to have stable internet connection. That is very important. Because even if the interviewer loses internet connection, he will be able to give you some grace points. But if you lose the internet connection, he won't be. That would like that would be extra time for him, and it could be a red flag definitely. Number two would be make sure that you're ready to turn on your video definitely. Number three should be make sure that you might be asked to share your screen, so make sure that uh, you're like make
Mhm.
sure that all any tabs, if they're open, close them, and like be prepared for that. So I think that's enough. So otherwise it's mainly the same thing. Yeah.
Right, that's great. I think that was quite insightful, and whatever you have shared here, it's not only going to help candidates who are going into software engineering, but also to the candidates who are going in other domain. So, thank you for coming here, and thank you for sharing your insights, and thank you for giving us your valuable time. It was really a delight having you here.
Thank you so much, Pratishtha. Thank you so much, Preplaced, for inviting me. And I hope this helps a lot of viewers. And thank you so much. You can, if anyone wants to connect to me, they can easily find me on LinkedIn. So yeah, happy to help.
Great, great.